I believe Grandma Norman lived in several houses in Port Melbourne when they were young. They used to say it was cheaper to shift than to pay back rent. But the only house I can ever remember her living in was in number 9 Little Crookshank Street, and she was there for a long, long while anyway. Mum's father died when she was about 10 and left poor Grandma to struggle with all these children, and she used to go out doing housework and washing. Mum had to leave school at 10 to help mind the baby and take the baby to Gran to have, when it needed it, the breastfeed. Anyway, she had 2 brothers and they were totally different. The way they announced the war or anything that happened in those days when I was 7, which was how long ago, 80 odd years ago, was all extraordinary papers. The paper boys were calling out, extraordinary, extraordinary, something else has happened, something terrible's happened. Anyway, that's the way we heard the war declared. And in, what year did we move up the bush? When I was 10 anyway, 1917. The war was nearly over anyway, but we didn't know it was going to be over. And my pop volunteered and he went into camp, but anyway the war ended about 3 months after he went into camp. So that was the end of Pop's soldiering days. All my aunts and uncles, they were all lovely, good living people, kind women, and the uncles were perfect gentlemen. I think if I had to have a choice, Auntie Ag would be my favourite. She was always so lovely and jolly and kind. And I think Uncle Reg, who was married to Auntie Eva, was the closest to becoming famous. He was a good plasterer and bricklayer, and he had a job working on the Capitol Theatre in Swanston Street. It was about 70 years ago. He specialised in working on the Capitol Theatre ceiling, where the lights all kept changing. Not as electrician, but as the plasterer who made the moulding for the light fittings. Poor Uncle Reg, years later, working on another job, he just knocked off and was ready to get dressed to come home, and he dropped dead on the job. Which was a terrible shock to poor Auntie Eva. Anyway, they paid compensation because he died on the job.